Get out the insurance cards, get out the co-pays. The office is open, my friends, as this video is brought to you by drroto.com.
Good morning, everyone. We are live at drroto.com, and we are talking the Valspar Championship. I am Johnny Danger. With me each week, Mr. Adam White. How are you this fine March 20th, sir?
Not too bad. Spring is here. I got my purple on, ready for Easter and all that. But decent week last week. The inevitable happened. Scotty Scheffler won again despite battling a neck injury.
That's
neck
right.
Soreness.
Well, you know, we talked about it. We compared him to Christian McCaffrey and said it doesn't matter what his ownership is at, that his game is top level right now, and it's painful to fade him. I was looking through some big contests. If you played them, you probably doubled up. You probably made minimum cash. But the big winners actually didn't have them because it was so hard to nail value last week. But we were no different. Our cheap plays weren't so good. But how about my flag plant this week after Adam Scott really screwing me the week before last? Siwoo Kim came through for me in my value flag plant of the week.
Siwoo redeemed you on the flag plant. We did have one very good value play in Sam Ryder at like 5,600 last week. I think he tied with Rory for the field lead in birdies, if I'm not mistaken. Just absolutely lit it up. Some mistakes too, but that was a good value. Siwoo is a guy that definitely paid off last week. A nice Sunday 64 to match Scotty.
Yeah,
guy continues to be a horse there at Sawgrass, along with Doug Gim.
Well, sir, you know I have a private league that I play in, and we've had 10 competitions. I have won 3 of them, and I've made money all but 1 week. So we've been on a tear, man, and I thank you for that.
Danger the golf guy. Look at this. PGA DFS Savant.
It's working. It's working for me. Anyways, let's get into the Valspar. I don't know if it can be as exciting as last week was. Last week was pretty awesome. But what do we got going on this week? Tell me about it.
No, I mean, just to recap last week a little more, it was everything you hoped the flagship PGA Tour event would be. The crowds were great. It was a hell of a finish with 3 guys right there, 1 shot behind Scotty, trying to chase him down desperately at the last minute after he had posted early. It was great. Now, this week, we're still in Florida. It wraps up the Florida swing. We are at the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. It is a difficult golf course wrapping up with 3 holes called the Snake Pit. The unique thing about it is that it's got 5 par 3s and 4 par 5s. So we're going to be looking at par 3 scoring a little more than usual. Par 5 scoring, you still got those 4 par 5s despite it being a par 71. Similar distance to most, right in that mid 7,300 range. It is a difficult golf course. So we're going to be looking at bogey avoidance and guys who are likely to finish up towards the top of the leaderboard. Last year it finished 7th in difficulty. It's usually somewhere in the top 10. So a little bit different. It's not going to be a birdie fest for sure. It usually plays very firm and fast, and it's not a typical Florida course. It's not like a lot of hazards everywhere. It's more tree lined with pretty tight fairways. So we want some guys who can hit it pretty straight off the tee. Your guys like Xander and Burns, the longer guys, are going to be hitting, club down off the tee with fairway woods and driving irons. So, yeah, we're looking at a pretty good week this week. We got some stats we're pretty keyed in on, and let's get rolling to it.
I like it. So last week we thought maybe Xander would pull off the win, but he got Scottied. But this week he's getting the Scotty treatment. I've got him up at over 25% owned, but I also, again, have him the best value per point on the board. Can we buy into Xander this week?
Yeah, I think that's also with good reason. We talked about last week. He is, outside of Scotty, the most consistent player on tour at this point. So, yeah, I think if you're looking at his price compared to Burns, I think Burns is priced way up because of his course history here, winning a couple times, which is great. But Xander is just a superior player almost across the board outside of maybe putting. So, yeah, Xander's a guy that I'm definitely high on this week. He's my favorite guy in that range. He is number 1 with the bullet this week, just as the projections kind of have shown us. So, with good reason, yeah, his ownership's going to be high. It's not quite a Scotty situation last week or at Bay Hill, but he is projected at 25% owned.
In our new contest, Adam, I believe that Scotty was 60% owned among the 20 of us in the contest last week.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I was one
But
of the
guy
ones
that
that
took
didn't
home
play
the
him.
gold didn't have Scotty in his lineup.
The winner?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, a lot of guys right there at 19 or close to it. But yeah, you also got guys up here up top like Spieth and Thomas who have been struggling mightily, especially Spieth. Just with the accuracy being so key this week, I'm not on those guys. So I think we can move down to the 9K.
Yeah, I have
range.
no interest. If I'm paying up, it's Xander only, or I'm starting in the the 9K or 8K range with a couple of players and being a little bit more balanced. My favorite play of the week in the 9K range, I'm going right back to the well, my friend. Right at the bottom at 9K flat, I'm going to Min Woo Lee yet again.
Min Woo is showing projecting at the lowest ownership in that 9K range. He's sub 10%. Brian Harman is going to be the chalk. Like he's with good reason. He's playing some phenomenal golf right now. He showed it at Bay Hill outside of maybe 9 holes and then backed it up last week, almost chased down Scotty at 9,800. But yeah, I'm with you on Min Woo. I think people are going to have that recency bias where they saw that he had a rough week last week. And really, I would take him over Nick Taylor, over Mitchell, over Bezaidnut, over Finau, Sungjae. At this point, I think he's much more likely to finish in the top 5 than any of those guys. So I'll take him over all those guys who are mostly more high owned than he is.
Yeah,
So
I'm looking at every single other player in the 9K range at 15%, and he's at 9.8 right now is what I'm looking at. And then if you go down, there's a handful of the 8K guys more owned than him as well. So I think Min Woo's my guy. I think I got to stick with him there. I don't know about Flag Plant yet. I haven't got there. I've been very busy at my regular job, so I have not had time to do my Flag Plant. So you're going to have to just go over to drroto.com and look at our PGA cheat sheets to get my final picks after today. We're in a little bit of a rush, so we apologize. It's going to be a short one today. We only have about 13 minutes left, my friend. So let's get right into that 8K range. If you're going to go Xander up top, you're probably coming to the 8K range to get your secondary player. There's some interesting value here. We've got a kind of the chalk play in Doug Gim, but also kind of the value meter says that it might be worth it. I know that we've had a love-hate relationship with Gim on this show. How are you feeling about him this week?
Yeah, it's a course that does set up well for him. I think he's been playing some great golf, but I actually see this as sort of a similar spot to what Shane Lowry's was last week. He just couldn't sustain the high level of play. Like it takes a lot out of you to play 4 rounds of highly competitive golf. I'm expecting Doug Gim to kind of take a dip this week, and I'm going to go ahead and let everyone else play him at 17% owned. Especially when you have a guy like Min Woo who's only 600 more and much more likely to top 5, just that much higher than him. Well, same thing with Bezaidnut, kind of the similar theory. Like he's been playing some good golf, but it's a course where you can make some doubles quick if you get a little squirrely off the tee. And with guys like Min Woo right there, $200 more, I'm not paying another. I'm not going to, pay the high price with the ownership expected to be so high. So
I can agree.
One guy that I'm interested in that hasn't been playing all that great, but he can pop at any moment is Keegan. I think Keegan is looking like he's about 10% owned, but still, would you be shocked if he was up there over the weekend? I wouldn't personally be. He's clubbing down, so driver's not going to cost him. He's a great iron play when he's on, so yeah, that's the guy that I'm looking at.
But a guy that I have had confidence in a couple of times this year that's paid off for me is Bo Hostler, sitting at the lowest owned in this category at about 6% at 8,300. You know me, I'm a models and stats guy. I don't know the individuals. That's why we make such a good team. Tell me why I need to avoid Bo Hostler, because the ownership pivot in me screams this guy's my play here.
Yeah, I'm actually sort of with you on that. Bo is the guy I've had my eye on to kind of target at the right event when people are off of him, because he has been trending towards playing, kind of leveling up, I guess, a little bit as far as his career arc goes. And this is a week where I think it's a good course fit because he hits the ball pretty straight off the tee. He is a very good iron player. And yeah, decent enough short game. So he's not a guy that I would expect to finish lower than like Hadwin, McNeely, Doug Gim, Aaron Rye. So that's not a bad pivot play right there.
I like it. Well, let's move down to the 7K range. And I've got one of your all-time favorites in our show that pulls up in your value plays constantly as the number 1 value-rated player per point per dollar in the 7K range at 7,300. Your good buddy, Lucas Glover.
Oh, Lucas Glover. I thought you were going to say Sam Ryder.
No, I'm going Lucas Glover. I think Sam Ryder, I think that they're underplaying the ownership on this model that we're looking at. I think 9%'s lower than what it's going to be. I think recency bias from last week is going to spike that closer to 14, 15. I like Sam Ryder. He's been hot, and I like taking people off of a hot round, but it's Lucas Glover for me in this range. Talk me off of it.
The Love Glove. Yeah, I'm not overly excited about him this week. He's been playing sort of decent golf, but not great. Did finish, I don't know, top 40 here last year, so that's something you could hang your hat on. But Ryder is the guy in this range that I like. I'm hoping people kind of see that he didn't finish as high last week because of a tough finish to the tournament. But he's the guy that I like a lot. Another guy that's been trending and playing some good golf, hasn't played here before, but only a second year on tour, is Taylor Montgomery. So when he makes big numbers,
Taylor a lot, and I don't know if you have read Alicia's article on the site, but she highlighted him as one of her top value plays, and I put a big old asterisk next to his name. We got him at probably closer to 5% ownership on this one. I couldn't agree more. So tell me more about him.
He's a phenomenal putter, and where he usually gets in trouble is spraying it off the tee with the driver. And this is a course, like we mentioned, you're going to be clubbing down a lot, and then you also have you still have 4 par 5s. You've got 5 par 3s, so that takes the driver out of his hands on one additional hole as well. So I think it's a course that suits him very well. I wouldn't be opposed to playing him closer to 8K. So Taylor Montgomery is one of my favorite plays this week for those reasons. You've also got defending champion Taylor Moore right there. Been playing some decent golf, finished 31st last week. So I think a lot of guys will probably a lot of players will gravitate towards Taylor Moore as well at 7,800.
Any interest in taking a swing back again at the Toddnator?
No, Todd, I'm not going to say he's dead to me like you have with EVR, but he made me look stupid last week. He made me look stupid. Mid-range was rough, but Sam Ryder and Taylor Montgomery are my guys here in the 7K range.
Well, I like it. What has happened to Bhatia? We were all over him last year, and I feel like he hasn't even been mentioned so far this season.
There was like a time where he got priced up in some of those weaker fields. He's just going to be, I think, at this point in his career, he's still very young. I mean, he turned pro at 19, so he's going to be very volatile while he kind of figures out how to be a professional. And figure out his week-to-week schedule and routines. He's a very driven guy. Like he's going to be fine and probably have a long career on tour, but he's just going to have his ups and downs. So yeah, he's a guy that's I wouldn't say a big name, but if you're kind of a fringe golf fan that pays attention, he does draw some attention. He's a good story, but not a guy that I'm interested in, but I don't have too much worry about him long-term.
Gotcha. All right, we got to get deep value here. We got a 6K range. We got a 5K range. I think that you're going to agree with me. The number one projected ownership in 6K and below range is a guy that we tend to auto fade when anybody else is talking about him, and it's Joel Dahmen.
Yeah, Joel is a guy that I was actually sort of coming around to because he had a rough first round last week and then played great golf the last 3. He was on one of the pods that I listened to, was talking about how he'd been trending for a while. So I was like, all right, maybe Joel this week. And then I saw him at 10+%, and I said, nope, not going to do that.
And he's back there again, projected at about 11% right now. And if anything in DFS has taught me, if DFS has taught me anything, is when you have a chalk value play, generally just run.
Yeah, unless it's a situation in NFL where it's like, oh, starting running back got injured after prices came out, and it's just stupid to not play the volume. But yeah, in this case with Dahmen, he's a guy that can get down on himself pretty quick. He's been playing better golf, but no, not somebody that I'm really looking at. The guy that I do love is right there, just $100 more, Mr. Victor Perez. He is my favorite play down here below 7K. Kevin, you burned us a couple weeks ago, so I am actually he burned me last week, so I'm off of him. And your boy Detry, who's been playing some horrible golf after a great stretch.
Man, right there, he won me all my seed money to start the season, and I just he's dead to me now. I got to walk away. So a little online chatter and a few of the Discords that I'm in have been talking about a name that I haven't really discussed in probably a couple of years now, but Webb Simpson's getting a little love online.
Yeah, I know he finished top 10 last year. The course does suit him okay. I can't do it, man. It's like Cooch. We talked about Cooch a few weeks ago. You're like, what do you think about Matt? I'm like, he's not even on my radar, dude. Like and then Kuchar made a few birdies early in that round, and I was like, don't do it, Cooch. Don't do it. But I look at Webb the same way. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't have enough firepower. Even if he squeaks through and makes the cut, I just expect him to fade over the weekend because he's just he's
so
like,
after winning like a grand on a $5 bet for Matthew Naismith to win first round leader a couple years back, I just can't help but take a long look at him every time I see him at value in the field. His ownership's a little high at nearly 8% in the 6K range, but he tees off early, and it has seemed to me, and maybe that's just bias from winning money on a guy, right? But it seems to me every time he's in that like very first tee off in the morning, he seems to do well. What do you think about Matthew Naismith?
To be honest, I hadn't thought about him. He did finish third here a couple of years ago. Was that your first round leader, Bill?
That might have been.
That when that hit?
I don't know. I was so happy from that day. I blanked the rest of it.
Yeah. No, he's not a guy that I'm really looking at. He's been playing some not great golf. He had a top 30 recently, but that was much on the strength of his short game and putter. Don't expect that to sustain. The guys that I do like down here, he's returned just this season. He's played 4 events, 2 on the Korn Ferry, 2 on the PGA, and his tee to green game has been phenomenal. It's Bud Cauley. We used to talk about Bud back in the day before he had a long stretch of absence from the tour, and he is priced very, very enticingly down there at 6,400, and that's a guy that I am very interested in hitting the low part of the 6K range.
I like it. I don't really have a lot to say down here. I don't have a gut feeling this time. I'm going to look at the value meter down in the 5K range, and there's a couple in here. T Dunks, which we've discussed over the years a few times. T Dunks is on that list. Other than that, I don't have a lot of things to even ask you in the 5K range, sir.
Don't mind T Dunks. Like if you're looking at cut makers that need to round you out, if you want to go like Xander and someone in the 9K range, you've got Joseph Bramlett's made 3 consecutive cuts here. He's a guy that can get hot. He's shown a little bit of form this spring. Another old guy in Stuart Sink. I got to mention Stewie when he's in the field, buddy.
You know it. I mean, he's no party Marty, but we can get behind it.
It's true. And a guy that I would very much expect to make the cut. Made the cut last week at the Players. He's down there all the way at 5,600. Very good putter is Mr. Zach Blair. Zach Blair is my extreme value play this week at 56. Like you said, nobody else I'm super interested in sub 6K here. So I don't think we need to talk too much more about it. I know we're running short on time, so let's get to our.
It's true. Did you get a chance to look at any of the betting odds? Did you see any that you liked that jumped off the page? You've been pretty good at your top 5s and top 10s, sir.
I have. I did look briefly. It was mostly just at winners yesterday. I will pull that up and do that at the end after we go through our picks in each salary range.
All right. Well, I'm going Chalky McChalkerson, my man. I think this is Xander's kickoff week for his victory. And I'm going to just play the chalk. I'm going Xander up top.
Yeah, I can't be mad at that. He's such, like we talked about, he's such a good bet. Even after the disappointing finish last week, to not win when he was right there leading, and those 2 consecutive bogeys were killer. But he's definitely a guy that you kind of have to look at and say this is the cream of the crop in the field. So I hate to double up with you and jump on, but that worked with Oberg last week. So let's go with Xander for me as well.
I love it. Let's do it. In the medium range, where are you going? You can go, whatever. I'm going to tell you who I take. It'll set the tone for you. How's that?
Go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead, and I know we usually get into the 8K range, but I'm just not loving that 8K range. So I'm going to play Stars and Scrubs probably, and I'm going to go with Min Woo Lee to pair up with Xander and try to find some value later on in my lineup.
Had a feeling you were going there. I had a strong feeling. See if we can get a little pivot here in this mid-range. We didn't even talk about Sepp Straka, but Sepp is trending towards pretty high ownership as well at 79. Not a guy that I mind. I like a little high upside there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go with you again, dude. There's no way. You know what? We didn't even talk about him, but I'm going to sneak in Mr. Cam Young there at 96.
You're playing stars and scrubs too, huh?
Yeah, we're going stars and scrubs for sure.
I like it. All right, my flag plant of the week, and I think that it will back this up. I think you like him. Alicia likes him. The model likes him. I'm going Montgomery.
Had a feeling you would. Yeah, I can't tell you that's a bad play. I know he's probably going to creep up a little higher in ownership, but coming off a top 20 last week, making a ton of birdies, top 20 here last year. And my boy who once mixed me a drink before the Rocket Mortgage, Mr. Sam Ryder at 7,300.
I dig it. All right, since we have the 5K range, we got a lot of value plays, and we're going high at the top. We're going to have to give an ultimate value play, or as I like to call it, the tipsy pick. Only use when necessary. If I got to dip that low, I think I'm just going to go right with T-Dunks. I'm going to go Tyler Duncan.
You can have him. Yeah, I will go Zach Blair, who we mentioned before. Been a pretty solid player, great putter, 5,600. He's not the prototypical pro as far as the way he looks. He's got some great hair. He's a little chubby, but love the dude. Let's go ZB at 5,600.
I dig it. All right, what you got for me for bets this week, buddy?
All right, so I think Brian Harmon is actually a pretty decent value there at 22-1. We're going to get to a deep top 5 play here. I'm sorry, top 10 play here in Victor Perez. He's at 8-1. And we also have Sam Ryder there at 8-1. If you want to get really crazy and go way down, Matt Wallace sometimes pops on these weaker fields. So let's go 12-1 on Matt Wallace as well for a top 10.
All right, I'm writing all of our notes. Well, I appreciate you, buddy. We went a couple long. I got to get out of here.
Do it.
We will not be here next week, my friends, but we'll be right back at it at the next major, correct?
I think we got one more week after that. So it's going to be the Houston.
Oh, yeah, we have the Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, we got the Houston Open after that.
I will most likely be here for the Houston. Definitely be there for the week after that. So anyways, thank you all for listening. Please go over to drroto.com. You have our cheat sheet from all of our golf experts. We've got a wonderful breakdown article from millionaire winner Alicia Hunt and all the rest of the baseball, hockey, basketball, the college basketball. Man, our college basketball guys are the best. So make sure everybody gets over to drroto.com, subscribe, and win today. For Adam White, I'm Johnny Danger from drroto.com. This was In the Cup. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be